Right, hello everybody, welcome back to Ball Street. Yesterday we did a video talking about who should be the first manager to go, who's going to get the sack first. We're now going to turn that on its head and we're going to go through the managers that have been doing a great job alphabetically, and then at the end of that video we're going to say who has, if the manager of the year award was given away right this second after a quarter of the season, who would get it? Who's done the best job? Okay? Yeah. So you've got yours in your mind, but you're not going to reveal that to the end. And actually, this incredibly well-produced video has a couple of names missing, and one of my manager of the year so far is missing off this list. So but
it's subjective, isn't it? I can't put every manager on there.
No. Right, okay. So let's kick off with A, which is Arsenal, which is Unai Emery, who's won 8 out of the 10 games so far. A summer net spend of 65.
He's won 7 out of the 10.
7? Oh, was it 7?
Yeah, he got the draw against Palace last week.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it was. It was going so well, wasn't it? They won a killer of a run. Yeah. 11 games won in this recent burst. How good a job has Unai Emery done?
Come on. Everybody expected Arsenal to wobble this season. More so because obviously replacing Arsene Wenger is one of the most unenviable jobs I think that's existed in the Premier League. Right up there with replacing Fergie. It's a poison chalice, that job. But Unai Emery has come in and he's done a really good job. It's not just the fact is that obviously Arsenal still look a bit flaky in defence, and you think, what's going to happen against Liverpool this weekend? That's their real acid test. But Lacazette's firing, Aubameyang's firing. What is it? They haven't been ahead in any game this season.
At half-time.
At half-time. Yet they've come away with so... And you look at the Crystal Palace game as well, they were behind, scored 2 goals quickly. Obviously, they conceded a late equaliser. But there seems to be an actual fight to Arsenal that hasn't existed in a long time. And Unai Emery is very set in his ways, but it's working. And everybody expected him to fail miserably. So in terms of the expectation, compared to what we're seeing, he's massively over-exceeding so far, I think.
Yeah, replacing Wenger was a very difficult job, even if he was unpopular.
Is it that difficult a job?
Yeah, because you're going into a club that's been completely institutionalised by one man. Arsene Wenger was Arsenal, and Arsenal was him for so long, and he transformed that football club. And Emery coming in had a challenge to bring in new ideas and convincing those above him and the players that played for him as well. He did benefit from the fact that it was such a kind of poisonous atmosphere by Wenger leaving, but that doesn't take away from what he's done, I don't think.
I think if he can, what he's done is he's got them going, and he's been able to get, despite it being a bit maybe clunky at start and the squad not truly being what he wants just yet, he's won games, and that's all that matters. And like you say, that you can spin it both ways. You can go, okay, they're not the finished article yet because they're not doing well in the first half of games, but they're showing a grit and a stamina that they maybe haven't had in previous seasons.
Remember as well, the start of the season, they lost against City and Chelsea, and you're thinking, oh, here we go. It's happening. What I'm expecting is happening. But they turned that around. That could have got very poisonous very quickly because I still feel Arsenal fans are a couple of losses away from a crisis, but it didn't happen at the start of the season. Unai Emery didn't let it happen. This Aaron Ramsey stuff that's going on is another situation that could be taking over the club, but it's not really. Ozil does disappear in some games, but he was magnificent in the last few recently games, apart from Crystal Palace.
The one thing I would say about him, in terms of being the best manager so far, doing the best job so far, is that I think the Arsenal fans have been they've been great, they've been positive, and they've been looking to give him a chance, and they've been spinning things the right way.
Yeah.
In a way that gives him more kind of empowerment, gives the players a bit more of a feeling that, right, okay, that time is behind us now, let's go and let's start again. And so I think if you take away that, if you put Arsene Wenger doing the exact same job so far, the spin would be different.
Yeah, it would be, because they had so many years of kind of not improving, and so it would be different for sure. But I think he's earned that patience, and he's earned that kind of spin from the Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
Because of the attacking style of play that he's brought in. On the break sometimes they have been breathtaking.
They have.
But the one question mark around him, I think, is still that defence. Their defence has been leaky as fuck. There's been 13 goals conceded this season. Southampton conceded 14. Brighton, Hove Albion, Wolverhampton all have better defensive records than Arsenal.
Yeah, and part of that is just the squad that he's got to deal with. The other part is a couple of injuries as well. You've got Xhaka playing left back. He wouldn't be playing left back.
Replaced half of his defence.
Yeah.
So
so he's had a great start, no doubt. But has he been managing as well as Eddie Howe at Bournemouth, Flav?
I don't think so. I think Bournemouth's actual position in the table is incredible. You know, we're thinking 10 games gone. Bournemouth haven't spent huge amounts of money. They've spent about £50 million this year, which, given the amount of money coming into the club with TV revenue and whatnot, isn't a great deal amount. They're probably there's more money coming in than going out in terms of overall revenue, and it's just the fact that he does so well with a group of players that are very good but aren't top six. You would argue most of those players aren't going to be looked at in January by top six sides, and he keeps improving. He's brought them up from League One. I know that's in the past, but he brought them up through League One. He's got them into the Premier League. They stayed in the Premier League, playing a brand of football that they don't have no right to play. If you look at promoted teams, it's his fourth season, so there isn't even any kind of inertia sitting in, as you sometimes see with clubs. I think you've seen Spurs somewhat under Pochettino, been there for 4 years now, and it's so impressive playing football the right way, getting good results against big sides.
Yeah, I thought Bournemouth were going to have a good season this season because I thought they looked settled. I think they made a lot of changes last season and it didn't gel that quickly. But this season they had a nice start to the season in terms of the games that they had to play. What I'd like to do though is I'd like to chuck in two other managers here because I think they fit alongside Bournemouth in terms of the squads. I'd be interested to know which one you think has the better squad and therefore which manager is getting the best out of them. Because I think Xavi Gracia at Watford and Nuno Espirito Santo at Wolves, I think both of those guys have quite possibly done a better job than Eddie Howe. Because Gracia, the pressure is on him straight away. Like you say, Eddie Howe's been there a long time. There's stability there, there's no pressure there. He's got a squad that he's settled with, he's got a squad that he knows he's going to get buy-in from because they've done it in the past. Gracia, for me, has gone in, and that is a scary job to take where you don't expect to be there a long time. He's come in when they were really struggling, kept them up, and then this season with a squad where he probably doesn't have any say in terms of the players that he brings in. You've got Deulofeu's come in, which is a good signing. Pereira on the other side is class as well. You've lost your best player in Richarlison, and he's got them, where are they? They're 7th in the league at the moment, won 6 of their first 10 games.
Well, we've seen with Watford that the stability isn't important. And you're talking about how that it's an advantage for Eddie Howe to have stability there, but Watford haven't seen any kind of ill effect from the lack of stability.
I wouldn't say Watford's not a blueprint of how to run a Premier League club and come up and stay up.
But it's also
it works for us.
I agree, but then isn't that an impressive thing for the managers to be able to step into that and get them firing?
It's a weird anomaly that's working. That's the way I look at their team. Right?
Oh, what? So you're not saying Gracia's done anything of any work?
Of course, he's the man at the top. If you're going to praise Emery and Arsenal, you've got to praise Gracia and Watford. But I really like Eddie Howe and what he's doing at Bournemouth. It's just a continuous. Obviously Callum Wilson's come back in, basically a new signing because he's been out for so much. But at this point in the season, it's very hard, I feel, to judge whether the likes of Eddie Howe at Bournemouth and Gracia at Watford and whether they're having good seasons or not, because they've had purple patches at the start, first couple of months. You've genuinely got asked this question again in 2 months, but come January, maybe we will. If come January, what Bournemouth is still on the edge of the top 6 and Watford is still in and around, then you can really say that what they're doing is more than just a couple of months.
Look, it is. Don't get me wrong. I think it's incredible what they're doing. 2 points off the top 4 at the moment.
It's unreal.
The other one I mentioned there was Espirito Santo. I think for the amount, again, do you give him the credit for this or do you give the club the credit for this? The recruitment we were talking about in the video yesterday about the sack race and the players that have come in at Fulham and it's not worked. What you've got with Wolves, you've got the opposite. You've brought in these players, but Moutinho has gone in and he's a cracking player for them. And the back 4 is solid, unlike Fulham. But they brought in players and they brought in the right players, and that's allowed Wolves to step forward as well.
I would 100% say I'd agree with you and put in part of the conversation. But we're talking about the first 10 games of the season, and they were flying really in terms of the points they were picking up. They lost the last 2, and defensively some issues there, which was their strongest part of their game so far in the season. So because of that, that's why I felt like it had to drop out.
Okay, let's keep moving. Chelsea. Maurizio Sarri has, and the summer net spend says 75 million here. The main amount of money was on the goalie, of course, but you've lost Courtois in the other direction. Has he done brilliantly, or has he just been? Has he just offered a bit of freedom to a squad that was already class?
No, he's done brilliantly. He's changed the system. The squad was class, and I think he looked at what he had. Certainly down that left-hand side with Alonso and Hazard, and he developed. He had a system that which worked perfectly with those type of players, and then obviously brought in the metronomic Jorginho in midfield. So he has well overachieved, I think. I mean, he's achieving well for the squad he has, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it has been for them. I think they're undefeated, but definitely shout for the title, and I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be very much a two-horse race. So yeah, incredible stuff. Very interesting to watch, and exciting to watch rather. And Sarri deserves all the plaudits for that.
He's gutted as you're talking about that.
The monotones are slowly going downwards.
And it's an optimistic time to be a Chelsea fan. So he's the what's the stat here? This is a good manager stat. If this is the talking point, which it is. He's unbeaten in his first 10 Premier League games as a manager. Only one manager's had a longer unbeaten start. Let us know in the comments below who it was. I'm not going to give it to you there.
What, for Chelsea?
No, it wasn't for Chelsea. He was manager of Nottingham Forest. Let us know in the comments below. But so unbeaten, so many problems last season. I think most people predicting to finish 5th, like you say. I think he's a good bet for manager of the year at the end of the season, because if he can continue like this, they've got a chance of winning the whole thing, and then inevitably he will win it.
I think the result that would please Chelsea fans the most has got to be that Burnley one, because Eden Hazard was out of the team and they won 4-0.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking at that Chelsea team going, oh, it's all going to be Hazard. It probably will be Hazard if they win the league, because he's just a mint player. But he was out of the team and they were still fantastic. It seems that everybody seems to have bought into Sarri very much straight away. And it's probably because 90% of it was already there. He hasn't had to implement much. It was just a system fitted the players he already had, rather than trying to force a system.
I think also that they're doing this without any legitimate forward. Like Giroud is a good player, good hold-up player, but he's not scoring. Morata is, I mean, speak to a lot of Chelsea fans. Craig, a Chelsea fan who works in the office, said it's like playing with 10 men. He thinks they would actually be better off if Morata wasn't on the pitch, because he wouldn't be fucking up runs and passes. I think that's harsh, but the fact is they don't have the number 9s of other teams around them, and they're still scoring goals for fun. Maybe they don't need one.
Right, move on to Man City now. Pep Guardiola, last season, of course, 100 points. I mean, it's incredible. I think the big question mark was, will they drop off in some way, shape or form? But if you look at some of the stats this season, I think they're still banging in the goals. Yeah. The goal difference is at plus 24. That's nearly 10.
Scored more and conceded less than any other team.
Yeah, you got just to put that in perspective. Liverpool plus 16 and Chelsea plus 17. And then at the other end of the pitch, which is probably why the goal difference is looking so good, is they haven't conceded in 6 games, and their XG, which I know you love, expected goals against them, is lower than it was last season. So they're tighter than ever before.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to gauge this, because what we're doing here is you have to look at what Pep Guardiola has done so far this season, and we're talking about who's the best manager in the league so far this season, and you have to compare it from what he's done previously. So he won 100 points. So if he does it again, you can't argue with the fact that he is the best manager in the league. But the only thing you can say against them, the only thing you can say against Man City, because I think this is probably the best side I've ever seen in the Premier League, and I think they're the best team in Europe, is that of course they will be. And I don't want to peddle that again. I know it's irritating to hear it all the time, but it's the only thing that you can level at them is, why wouldn't they be?
Because I guess with this, we're critiquing the manager, aren't we? Less so the team. So it's like, are those players getting better? Are the players that you're bringing in getting better? Are you finding a way to win games?
And that's all down to Pep Guardiola. And his biggest credit, Jim, sorry to cut you, is the fact that he hasn't allowed any kind of inertia to set in. His character, he's pushing them to go on and succeed and do better.
Some Liverpool fans say they've played Liverpool and they played Arsenal first game of the season and they haven't played
but nobody has.
Tough
nobody's
games.
been tested.
It's not so. Obviously, Man City's focus this season is the Champions League. They've won the Premier League now. Pep Guardiola's won the Premier League. That's already on his CV.
I think they won
He's
both.
a man who's driven by his own ego. He wants trophy. Obviously, winning back-to-back, that's something else. But the European Cup eluded him at Bayern Munich. That was what was always pointed at him. And he's a manager who comes into squads, great squads, has a load of money, and is fucking successful, and he's done that straight away at Man City. So right now he's exactly where you would expect City to be.
Is he doing a better job than these other people we've spoken about so far? Just quickly.
I think there's a good argument for it. There's a good argument for him.
You can put him up there. Depends how you define it. If you define the best manager against the initial expectations at the start of the season, there's other contenders for it. He's top of the league.
His job is different, though. His job is different to Eddie Howe's, and because of that, he has different responsibilities. What would Eddie Howe do?
Dodging the question.
Would if Eddie Howe had a Man City's team, would they win the league? Yeah,
that's not what we're answering.
Well, that's the only way I can. Well, I don't want to give the answer yet because.
Okay. All right. Last one. Calm down, all of you Liverpool fans. Jurgen Klopp spent a lot of money.
They had to, though.
But they're doing very well.
Yeah, they had to spend because Man City spends so much. So they've got to spend money to catch up to Man City, haven't they? So
yeah,
you saw two major holes in Liverpool's squad last year: a goalkeeper and centre back.
Yeah.
They obviously signed the centre back last year, so I missed that one out. But obviously, Alisson is the big difference there, and it's.
I think that's a little unfair, actually, because I think they'd be in exactly the same spot
without Alisson.
I think so, because I think the back four is better than ever. I think they all know each other and they've evolved a bit more. They've all got a new layer of confidence from the Champions League run.
I think they've got confidence because they can trust their goalkeeper.
Exactly.
Well. Yeah.
They know exactly who's behind them now.
I'm sure that helps, but I still think they'd be right up there otherwise. They are unbeaten in their last 11 Premier League games, and they've only conceded 4 goals in that run.
Yeah, I think I said it in a previous video as well. The thing that they've got to be happy about is the fact that Salah was just quiet for some time, but they were still banging loads of goals in.
He was just not finishing in the way that he did last year. No. If you talk about XG again, but his XG was far outweighing the amount of goals he was scoring. So. Look, but what Klopp's done this year again, and it's building off of those results against Man City last year, is putting a stake in the ground to say that we are title challengers and this is going to be our Premier League season. And the fact that he's done that is an incredible thing because everybody believes that they can win the league. I believe they can win the league.
Yeah.
And
And you know what? When we talk about spending money, like you say, it has to be done, and the squad has more depth. You've got people like Shaqiri coming in when he has to and doing really well for them. You've got Fabinho starting to play games now but didn't play for the first few games. You've got people like Lallana who can't get in the team anymore. That team and squad has evolved. So although we're looking at these first 10 games, and if you look at these first 10 games, should he win this discussion? I'm not sure. But over the last 2 years, he's right up there because that squad from where it was to where it is now is frightening.
And the feeling around the club is frightening as well in terms of how well they could do.
Like, if Liverpool, I hope it doesn't happen, but if Liverpool do win the league this year, everyone's going to point at them and say, look how much money you spent. But the reality is if you have the ambition to win the Premier League, you have to spend a hell of a lot of money. The winners of the Premier League the last 5-6 years, they spend big.
Apart from Leicester, but
apart from Leicester,
if you look at it, you think a manager's role isn't just about tactics, not just about the way the team plays and picking the right team. It's also about transfers and signings and identifying weaknesses in the side. And what he did in the summer and the January transfer window before it set them up to be the team that they are now, and he needs massive credit for that as well. So he's obviously in with a shout. Of course, why wouldn't he be? Okay, right, let's get to it then. Final votes, and then we want you guys in the comments. You can do it right now if you want to. Let us know who would be your manager of the season so far. Of course, it's just a bit of fun after 10 games, so relax before you do that comment. Okay, but have a think, have a comment. And hit the like button before we give our verdict. Sam, who is your manager of the season so far?
I think going into the season, every Arsenal fan would have been happy just finishing in that top 4. Everyone took the piss out of it for so long under Wenger, but it was stable. They kept them there. But with a new manager and after nearly, 2 decades of being Wenger's Arsenal, everybody expected Arsenal to just fall off a cliff. But it hasn't happened.
So you're saying Eddie Howe?
I'm not saying Eddie Howe. I think Unai Emery has massively exceeded the expectations of myself as a non-Arsenal fan and definitely of every Arsenal fan. So I think right now, Unai Emery.
Okay. Cool, Fluff.
I would say Eddie Howe. I'm going to say I do love him, and I just think the challenges that he has to maintain what he's built at Bournemouth are incredible. He's a different challenge than being Man City boss, being Liverpool, Spurs, and so forth. But we're talking about him in the same bracket as those huge clubs, Premier League super clubs, and for that reason, I'm saying Eddie Howe thus far has been the best manager in the Premier League.
Okay, I'm going for Javi Gracia because I think the leash that he's been given as manager of that football club is the shortest of any of them. The squad that he's got is a squad that he didn't choose, he didn't build, but he's moulded it into something that's doing very, very well. And a lot of people expect him to be in the bottom half of the table at this point in the season, and he's got them firing. So
do you reckon when he goes into Watford's training grounds, like he's like this?
Yeah, just keeping his head down. I think that's why he's so quiet.
And they won't sack me.
Yeah.
Like, he just closes the door to his office like this.
Turns a handle like that. So
I would also say I would still be surprised if he lasts to the end of the season, because if he loses 4 games, and that's why I think he's done so well so far.
Yeah.
Because if he loses 4 games, it is a talking point. Whereas if Eddie Howe loses 4 games, that's still not a talking point because it's Eddie Howe. So that's why I think he's done brilliantly so far. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. If you're still watching, then you've probably enjoyed this. So why don't you hit subscribe and the like button, and we'll see you soon.